It does a countdown. Oh, it didn't do the countdown. Let's do it. We're on.
We're on.
We're on.
All right. So, hello, everyone that is joining us. I'm so excited that we are having this convening. It's very important that we're having this meeting specifically for our masculine center women. I think that there's so many different, mobilizing and organizing for VP Kamala Harris. And I think I'm excited to bring these leaders up who are representing a version of leadership in our community. And also, I'm going to say this like 3-4 times just to say it, representing our soon to be first Black woman.
Yes.
President Kamala Devi. Is it Devi? I'm going to pronounce her middle name wrong. Kamala Devi Harris. From my area, I am Mayor Pro Tem Carolyn Weisinger from the city of El Cerrito, California. So yes, I am right here in the San Francisco Bay Area. I'm so excited that I fall directly from the Kamala Harris tree, and that here in California, we are excited about her. I want to go ahead and go around the room and introduce everyone, and then we'll tell you a little bit about what brought us to have this convening and talk about the presumptive nominee. Well, actually, she's the real dom. Just to let people know, let's answer this question first, because I got this in my Instagram feed the other day. She's not even the candidate. I'm a delegate, so I will tell you the process from the California perspective. We have a lot of different people from different states, so every state has a different process of how they elect their delegates. Here in California, we did have to run on a public ballot at district congressional level as leaders of our Democratic Party of the state, and also party leaders at large. Once those were elected, normally what we do is that we go to convention and we actually vote. You've probably seen legendary clips from different eras of people actually voting at convention for the nominee. One thing that a lot of people didn't know, and I didn't know until we faced the situation that we're in currently, is that every year one of the parties ends up having their convention after ballots need to be completed. And what they've always had is a gentleman's agreement between which one will go late. So ballots usually drop for president. At least they start creating them in around October. And every year they'll switch who has the late convention. And usually the other party is amenable to, I think they have to amend state laws in certain states to allow it to go forward. We know that we are in a very polarized politically time right now. And let's just say the other party was not being amenable to that gentleman's agreement. So what the Democratic National Committee opted to do instead is they did a virtual vote. That virtual vote happened amongst the delegates from each state between August 5th and August 7th. I was one of those delegates. And at that time, Kamala Harris did get the required number of delegates to actually become the Democratic nominee for president. So technically, even though we haven't had convention, she is already the nominee. What's going to happen on the first day of convention, which is on Monday, I will be there in Chicago, Chi-Town. We will have a ceremonial vote at the time that would have been the normal vote. It's still going to be raucous. Somebody's going to do something crazy. I hope it's not violent. But just for those who don't know or understand, that is a simple explanation of the delegate process. She is already our nominee. We no longer have to call her presumptive. With that, I'm going to go around the room and ask everyone to introduce themselves. Everyone has their title on the panel, but you can tell us who you are, what you do, and you can give us a short elevator speech about why you are personally supporting Kamala D. Harris for president. I'm going to start with, bro, I'll be honest, I'm not going to Kamala you. I don't never get the pronunciation of your name right. So I'm just going to say my bruh, Young Salter, and then bruh can give us the correct pronunciation of bruh's name. Go ahead.
My name is Takovi Young Salter. I'm a DE&I speaker. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm voting for her, Madam VP Harris, because she stands for everything that I love about this country. Her policies on economics and labor, healthcare, LGBTQ issues, things that personally affect my life, she's willing to protect that. That is why I'm voting for her.
Thank you, bruh. I'm gonna next go to Brielle Winslow. I'm about to Kamala Brielle, your last name. Please give me the correct pronunciation of your last name.
No problem. So Brielle Winslow Majet. My pronouns are she, her. I'm the deputy director at Garden State Equality, which is New Jersey's statewide advocacy and organizing organization. And I'm voting for Kamala not only because I also went to Howard, and she knows what it is, and that means she's on the right side when it comes to education. But my livelihood is on the ballot. And I have to pick someone who has permanent interest in my livelihood. And Kamala has shown up time and time again and proven that as a Black woman who also is an ally to my community, she's going to continue to make sure that I experience lived equality and fight for lived equality for me and others in the community. So got to go with Kamala.
Thank you, Brielle, straight from Garden State. Next, I'm gonna go to is it Aja or Asia? Look, I'm getting everybody's name right because we not listen. Aja Lastar Owens.
I like Aja. That seems more poetic, but it's Asia Lastar Owens. Thank you for having me. I am from St. Louis, Missouri. I wear a couple of titles, but I would definitely say I'm a community advocate, former councilwoman in my area here, ran for mayor last year, worked for Congresswoman Cori Bush as a staffer. So as someone who got into like local politics, I definitely think that one of the reasons I am supporting Harris is because like everyone that's already mentioned, I definitely feel like a lot of her policies align with me and my community, and I definitely feel like she's earned that spot. Even just being the vice president now, she was already in line should anything happen to the president to step into that position. So I definitely think that she earned her spot right now. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Asia. I'm gonna say it right, even though the other name is more poetic. I'm gonna say it the right way. Next, I'm so excited about this panelist because we're here masculine presenting women. It is so few and far between that we have masculine presenting women in our state legislatures. So I am so excited to introduce and bring to the virtual stage Rep. Latasha D. Mays. Go for it.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for having me. I'm Pennsylvania State Representative Latasha D. Mays. I use she, her pronouns. I represent the city of Pittsburgh, but I'm originally from West Philadelphia. So I am a Pennsylvanian through and through. I've spent decades of my life as a national reproductive justice leader. I ran a nonprofit that I founded for 18 years. And at the center of our work very much was the health and well-being of LGBTQ plus women, femmes, girls, and folks. And so after doing that for almost 2 years, I always had aspirations since I was a child to run for elected office. I didn't know when, I didn't know what, I didn't know how, but the opportunity arose in 2022 for me to run in the seat that I represent now. And I'm the first woman to represent my district. I'm the first out lesbian to ever serve in the Pennsylvania General Assembly. And I'm really proud of that. And so what I know about Black women and folks is that we are trailblazers, ceiling breakers, way makers. And that is what our Vice President Kamala Harris has done. I mean, just starting from the fact that she's overqualified to be president is why I'm voting for her. The fact that she has always been an advocate for the issues that have really inspired my entire life around reproductive justice, particularly for Black women and folks. And she has been one of the greatest voices at the federal level for Black maternal health. And that's something I focused on in my first 2 years in office. And we and my colleagues, Rep. Gina Curry and Rep. Morgan Cephas, they're from the Philadelphia area. We came together to really elevate this public health crisis that has been going on for generations, but has only gotten to shine, I would say, in the last 5 to 7 years. And so to have a vice president who has prioritized Black maternal health and that moms and babies can come out of birthing experiences well and continue to thrive. That's why I'm voting for our now vice president, soon to be president, Like, can you imagine a president that centers the lives of Black women? And why can she do that? Because she is a Black woman. And so people talk about, oh, you know, why we just supporting her because of her race and gender. I'm like, that's the icing on the topping on the cake. Like, she's overqualified. Like, there's this hands down. Like, and this moment is pivotal. What she talks about in the campaign. Are we going forward or are we going backwards? And so oftentimes Black women are called in to clean up the mess, but she's going to do more than that. She has transformed this campaign already. It's been game changing to have her as our candidate. Why the energy go from all right to is up? Like, that was the difference literally overnight.
Yes.
And we see the outpouring and the groundswell of just joy, and also the vision and the passion to elect our vice president as the next president of the United States. Thank y'all so much for having me. I'm so proud to serve in my current role and to be a masculine of center woman as a very visible legislator in the Commonwealth. And I hope to, like our vice president says, to be the first, but to definitely not be the last. Thank y'all.
Look, listen, I mean, I'm trying to get in our General Assembly, but enough about that. That's for this conversation for another day. Next, I'm going to bring to the virtual stage my other good friend, Tiara Craig from What's the L. You got the mic.
Hey, y'all. So I apologize for being in the car. Took a little bit longer to get home than I expected, but I am Tiara Craig. I use she, her pronouns, and the founder of What in the L, partnering with Brielle, who you guys already spoke with. And we are to amplify the voices and endeavors of all things lesbian. And you say, globally. And you say, why vote for Kamala? For me, it's because it's not about the presidency. It's about, as Carolyn said, about, the school board and the local elections and different things like that. And I feel like if we are to make a change, it has to start there. And I think the pool is less tainted with her at the helm. I think that if we, reflecting on some of the alternatives right now, if we are to make change, if we are to ensure that our lives and the lives of those that come after us, those that are, other marginalized communities, we have to ensure that we take care of things locally. And I think that right now, she, at the helm could help us do that. As an out Black, lesbian, disabled veteran, combat service disabled veteran, I do feel that some of the things that and the benefits and entitlements that myself and others, especially those who serve with me in the don't ask, don't tell generation, are better served under her leadership versus under any other alternative leadership. And that's just me. Back to you, Carolyn.
Boom, you better kick it to me like we on a game show. All right, back to me. Last but not least, one of our conveners of this meeting, my other bruh, Amber Moore. Take it away. Or are you trying not to talk? You're just trying to sit behind the scene and run the...
I'm talking. So yes, I'm Amber Moore. My pronouns are she and her. I wear a lot of hats. But the one hat that I wear today is stud health activist. So mine is more personal when it comes to why, because my parents are the reason why, my father is the reason why we are able to fight and we were able to vote. And I said it because he walked with Martin, he walked with the movement, he went to jail, all those things. And I want him to see that his work that he did and all those that walked with him, whether they're here or they're gone, it did not go in vain, and that we won't allow it to go in vain. And then my mother she taught me at a very early age, as a woman, as a Black woman, I can do anything. Don't let nobody stop you. Don't let nobody tell you no. And so I feel like this right here is the Black is beautiful. Back when I was growing up, everything was Black is beautiful, and it meant something. It made you feel good. And I agree with our representative that and I think she was the one who said it, that when it was Joe Biden, nothing against him, but it was like, we just in the boat, just riding along. And then within minutes when we heard her name and that she was getting, she was going to step into this role and become our president. And yes, I'm going to say it like that, become our president. It became Black is Beautiful again, and I'm going to say this, and I don't care who gets mad. It takes Black women to clean up and do the right thing. All right. So don't get it twisted, because Black women are about to shine like there's no other. We are taking back our role. We're taking back our crowns. You ain't got to uplift us. We uplifting ourselves. So I'm really proud to be, honestly, you couldn't Black and be a Black woman. And and as a masculine presenting, I am super proud to wear that. And I know that she's going to allow me to keep wearing it and keep being the great that we are. Because we won't get it. If we don't do right, we will not get that opportunity. And I'm not going to wear a dress. I'm sorry. I'm not doing it. I'm not changing. I'm not dimming my light.
The reason right there. I'm not wearing no dress. I'm not wearing
a dress. I'm not going to dim my light. I'm sorry. This Black woman's light will shine brightly forever as long as I'm here. So yes, that is my reason. I am definitely behind her 150 million%.
Thank you. And
Carolyn, can I add something to that?
Yes.
Just one thing, because I also think that it's important that we understand the moment and understand like when the timing is right, because when she originally went for president, right, that wasn't the moment. I think that even though, again, she was overqualified and all of that, I think it still took for the right time and the right moment for it to be like, this is it. Because when you talk about that momentum, it wasn't that same type of energy 4 years ago, but she had to still have this journey in order to get to this moment in time. And I just think that the time is now.
And I'm glad you said that, Asia, because my why, there's so many reasons to support Kamala Harris, but from a personal perspective, and seeing the things that she went through here in California, the things that Black women in California went through when she went to the White House. Number one, as I said at the top of the show, I'm so glad and so honored to literally fall from the Kamala Harris tree. Even though I'm an elected official in the city of El Cerrito, most people that know me know I spend a whole lot of time in the city and county of San Francisco. I was formerly the board president of San Francisco Pride, which allowed me to build a lot of relationships with some of the greatest Black women leaders that have come out of the Bay Area, including San Francisco Mayor London Breed, who was a good friend of mine, including State Controller Malia Cohen, who was a good friend of mine, who, by the way, was trying to sneak on this call. And I told her she can come, but she had to go get her hair done before the DNC. So she said she wasn't coming. So everything that they have imparted on me is things that were imparted on them by women like Kamala Harris, like Barbara Lee. So I'm so proud and honored of that. But it's interesting that we're having this call that was birthed out of the Win with Black Women movement, because a lot of people don't know that the Win with Black Women movement was a big part of what we called here in California the Keep the Seat campaign. When Kamala Harris did become the vice president, and we were trying to get a Black woman to be appointed to her seat because there was going to be no more Black women in the California state legislature, or rather in the U.S. Senate. And a lot of the things that happened really amplified the fact that people think that California is a very, very liberal state. But I can tell you, we don't have like a Rep. Latasha Hayes here in California. We don't have any Black queer women in the state legislature. We have very few Black queer women that are in elected office here in California. It is hard to be an elected official in the state of California. So when you look at her background, at her resume, becoming a district attorney, becoming the Attorney General of California, becoming the U.S. Senate, there's only been 3 Black women who have been statewide elected officials out of California. That's been Kamala Harris, Malia Cohen, and Shirley Weber. Shirley Weber first got in from being appointed. I'm going down a rabbit hole with it now. But what I'm really want to get to is that, as Asia said, this is a moment. People always say when Black women run for office, they're not viable because they can't raise money. She raised $44 million in one night. They always say that they can't get the support and the endorsements from the establishment. She got the highest one out of the gate from the president. Like out of the gate, 20 minutes after he resigned. And I think that honestly, what I was seeing here in California is that people were going to overlook her after Joe Biden left the White House. That was the plan. And it was because they thought she couldn't do any of those things. I've been watching here in California, especially with filling her seat, people were already preparing for Gavin Newsom to run for president over her. She was the vice president. So the fact that she came into this moment, we'll say under duress, is not really, but we're going to say under duress. And she accomplished all the things that they said Black women cannot do to run for president is amazing. And I also think it's important that people are having very difficult conversations about her criminal justice background here in California. I think it's very important to get into the weeds of those, because it's not like it's being reported, obviously, in places like the Shade Room and the Jasmine brand. And so for all of those reasons, I'm willing to ride with her wherever she go, even if it do get dark sometime. That's fine. That's, the valley of the shadow of death. I'm ready to go there with her to see a Black woman who I know who was raised here in San Francisco, who's going to prioritize LGBTQ people, because that's what she's had to do her entire career. Boom, boom. So that's my why. I want to first go to Rep Mays, because I was telling Amber and Brett, tell me how to say your first name again. I'm saying Max. Okay, we can't hear you. But I was telling them that I was excited to have you on the call, because you are in a battleground state. And a lot of people don't understand the Electoral College, and they really don't understand when we talk about battleground states, when we talk about swing states. And I'm so excited that Kamala does have the energy that she has across the nation. But at the end of the day, she got to get your state and a couple of other states. So can you talk to us a little bit about what it's like being on the ground supporting her, and how people in other states can support her as well in states like yours?
Great question. So Pennsylvania is a battleground state because it is not, while it is largely a Democratic state, it's Democratic in its urban centers, first-class cities or larger cities like Philadelphia, where I'm from. Pittsburgh, where I represent my constituents, is a second-class city. But it is the seat and core of southwestern Pennsylvania. Then you have central parts of the state, northeast and northwest parts of the state, where Black people live. I just want to be clear that a lot of people like to call the middle of Pennsylvania Pennsyltucky, right? Because it's the more rural area. But Black people, what I've learned for many decades, is Black people live everywhere. Black voters are everywhere. And so oftentimes we always overlook the middle, whether it's the middle of a state like Pennsylvania or the middle of the country. They call it flyover states. But at the end of the day, it's up for grabs. That's what a battleground state means. It means that Trump could win this state. It means that Vice President Harris could win this state. And while we lean blue, it could go red. And so battleground means we fighting for it. These campaigns are fighting to win not only the popular vote, the actual votes cast, but the 19 votes that Pennsylvania has. So there are 538 electoral votes across the country. I forget the number to win, but you have to have a certain number of electoral votes. And if you don't have them, you don't win. You could get the popular vote, as has happened in the past. If you remember the Gore election of 2000, where he won the popular vote, but he lost the Electoral College. And we remember the heartache and the heartbreak and the trauma of losing in 2016 with Hillary Clinton. She won the popular vote, but she didn't win Pennsylvania. And so if you don't win Pennsylvania, you don't win the election. And so there are several states that are like that. And some with the Electoral College, whoever wins the popular vote, whether you win by 1 vote or 100 votes, that candidate gets all 19 votes from Pennsylvania, where in other states it's proportional and it would be based on the percentage of your popular votes. So it's, Electoral College actually comes out of the origin is based in racism, as always, and slavery. And so many people want to abolish the Electoral College and let it just be a popular vote and call it a day. But the number of votes you get in each state is proportional to the size of your state. So it's convoluted, but that is how it works. So we need our vice president to win the 19 votes here in Pennsylvania and to battle for this state. And so that's a little bit around battlegrounds and what it means in the Electoral College. What it looks like on the ground real quick is like, I couldn't go to the Philly rally where she announced that Walz would be her vice presidential pick. But guess what, y'all? She'll be here. She's coming to Pittsburgh. She'll be in Pittsburgh. So she will spend that. The campaign is, I mean, they said they have like 300 offices in Pennsylvania. That means they're getting every nook and cranny of the state. They got something like 1,000 staff here in the state, plus 43,000 volunteers, y'all. 43,000. And that's over the last couple weeks since she became the candidate. So it's a big operation in Pennsylvania, and she will be here many times over the next 80 days because she needs to win Pennsylvania. So that gives you a little idea. And last thing I want to say is that I've been tapped to run the Pennsylvania Black Women for Kamala campaign, along with my dear friend. We've been partners in political crime for a long time. She's a statewide chair. I'm supporting her directly, and I'm running a 12-county campaign to engage Black women to come out and support our vice president, but also to engage Black communities in these pockets, not just in Pittsburgh and our immediate county, but in our 12-county region where Black people do live. And so we have to get to the most grassroots level with our efforts to win. And you know, she has been positioned to win because we saw what an Obama operation was in 2008 and 2012. And we also know that she's walking in the legacy of Shirley Chisholm. Imagine if Shirley Chisholm had the resources that our vice president has. Imagine if she had the money, if she had internet and social media, other Black women elected officials who could, and Black leaders and organizers on the ground. Can you imagine what it would have been like? But that's what happens when you open the door. You know, you're cracking it. You're planting the seeds, and this campaign is the flourishing and the promise of that legacy.
You're literally pushing down the doors, and you know, and that is also a testament to how all of our visibility and advocacy has changed attitudes and abilities. You know, you watch things like the Unbought and Unbossed film about Ron Dellums, and I mean, I'm gonna say it because I hang out with him sometime, but Willie Brown did her dirty that year at convention. He did, you know, and I know Willie, he's all about whoever gonna win. So one thing that you said that's important, and for anybody who's listening, I want them to hear this very clearly. Because when we talk about what happens, we talk about the Gore year when he won the popular vote but lost the electoral college, and of course it went to the courts. You know, people have talked about the fact that if Trump is reelected, he will probably get to appoint either 2 or maybe 3 members of the Supreme Court. They wouldn't be the ones that would be voting on the result of this election, but he already has a majority. So we already have seen the damage that can be done by them being in there. We definitely don't want to play with our rights by letting a full-on, you know, MAGA Supreme Court go forward. Before I go to the next question, I want to invite my good friend Nalo into the chat. Hello, Nalo. We were just introducing ourselves by telling what organization we're representing and giving a short elevator speech on why you're supporting VP Kamala Harris for president.
Hey now, I hope everyone's doing well. And thank you so much for the support. I did get an email from someone. I'm on Central Time, just moved to Texas, so figuring out the time zone stuff. I am the founder of an organization formerly known as Black Girl Masculine. One of my throwback shirts right here. But it's now called Black Masculine Futures. And I create spaces of representation and challenge the status quo of masculinity belonging to men, and kind of like channeling that energy to allow masculinity to remain genderless, and for all of us to be able to embody it the way that we experience it instead of the gatekeep, instead of everything else. So I'm also an accountability strategist, and I train organizations on how to keep people together. So that's a little spiel about me. I am committed to the Harris-Walz ticket because it matters for what is at stake if we don't. I'm not going to pretend with y'all today that there isn't like challenge all around that I could pick from. If I, if I had to just be scrutinous in that way, I don't think that any human that sits in that chair is going to appeal to what I consider a holistic set of values. You got to get to the house the way you get there. And I don't think that, I think that a Black woman being there deserves my support. I think that the possibilities for what she has promised to sustain matters for the people who will be left behind or dead or without health care or without everything else if she does not. And I know the challenge has been, and I want to address this because when I posted that flyer that you sent me, the people was in my DMs, what about Palestine, right? And I'm not going to jump because I know we're going to get to some of the salt and cookies of that. But I want to be mindful that our fight is not done. The election will not solve the fight of Palestine. And we cannot, and I also want to throw in the nugget to finish that Palestine is not the only place that needs our support. When we center Palestine only and don't talk about Sudanese, Congolese, the African content stripping of resources, there are many global crises that we could poster to the Western world as accountable, including the United States of America. I do not think that that needs to be the central focus for rejecting the power we do have to ensure that queer and trans people, elderly people, poor people have some have the resources and access that they need to make sense of new outcomes. Thanks y'all for having me.
Thank you for being here. I just want to say I'm so excited for this panel because some folks I've just met, some people I've known for a while, but I've met everyone in a organizing convention type space where people were just out there being fabulous and being leaders in a way that people do not always see masculine and center women. So, I mean, and the names that I'm going to drop this is for identification purposes. These organizations do not specifically support Kamala D. Harris. But some of these people I have met at Creating Change. Some of these people I have met at Butch Voices when that was around. Some people I met I met Rep Mays at CBC. So, that's all doing the political thing. But still, we didn't expect to see each other when we came in that room. And there we were. So I'm just excited to have all y'all together. Before we get into the discussion, I want everyone that is watching to know we're going to drop in the chat, both here on StreamYard and on Facebook and YouTube, wherever you are watching this. It is a link to support Kamala D. Harris. Campaigns are expensive. I've seen a lot of people who don't really understand financing in campaigns. Like, why they keep asking for money? Every time I turn around, it's a commercial for money. Somebody keeps sending. I ran in a city. El Cerrito has 25,000 people. Just in El Cerrito alone, it cost me $8,000 to send out mailers and to get literature to drop on people's doors. So I can only imagine how much it costs legitimately to run a campaign. You heard what Rep May said about all the offices that they have in Philadelphia. None of those people work for free. I know because I'm trying to get on the staff. Okay, you got to pay for the space. You got to pay, and they paying real salaries. They're not paying baby salaries. They paying real salaries. So we're dropping this in the chat. This is a way for us to support Kamala Harris for president. And also, this is a link specifically for us, so we can go back and say, look, masculine center women was dropping dimes for Kamala. We about to make $1 million like the white dudes for Harris. I don't know if we're gonna do $1 million tonight, but we can try. We might get some ballers in the audience. So let's go on with the conversation. And I don't want this to be a quiet conversation. So feel free. This is real boys talk. I've only done it with Amber a couple of times, but I know that people just be talking and like really getting into it. So I don't want nobody to feel like they got to be quiet behind the screen or nothing like that. But we want to get into some of the different policy positions of Vice President Harris and some of the things that we think that are going to be important having her in the seat of president. And of course, the first obviously one would be LGBTQ protection. Protections. So advocating for comprehensive protections against discrimination. What would you all say is the point of view of masculine center women when they're looking at her record previously as an elected official and to the future of how she will be able to support LGBT community folks? Anybody want to come off mute? Go ahead and answer.
I'll jump in real quick. And for me, it's two things. It's identity politics, because masculine identified women look different. So in the policing spectrum, in an employment spectrum, in the healthcare spectrum, masculine identifying women are, when you say it's a health issue, it's an LGBT issue. But if you funnel further down as a masculine presenting person, you're policed differently. Your healthcare is different. The fact that you get healthcare and then the treatment that you get, your employment is different. So, that for me, the identity politics of it all, and then reproductive health. Specifically, we know that repro health is a huge issue because white women have been waving their repro justice flag around. But in the masculine identifying lesbian community, like we still, not me specifically, want babies, and we want to birth our own babies. But then just having, gynecological health services, having respect when we are seen, having people ask the right questions about our reproductive health, our sexual health, having the ability for our partners to have alternative ways to get pregnant. And if we don't want to get pregnant, the ability to adopt or foster, because in a lot of local areas, it's blocked because they don't allow same gender loving folks to adopt or foster, which puts a lot of other Black, youth, teenagers stay in the system, in that pipeline. And I can go on and on about that, foster to prison pipeline. But I think if I were to say two things for masculine identifying women specifically, is identity politics of it all and the full spectrum of reproductive health for reproductive and sexual health for masculine identifying women.
So y'all know I want to get right in there on that. Thank you so much for pointing out that the piece about our health and our well-being. So that's been the space I've been in. And I just want to make one kind of adjustment to what you said about reproductive justice, is that reproductive justice comes from Black women. So white women are raising the flag around reproductive health, reproductive rights, and these concepts around being pro-choice and reproductive freedom. They speak generally about all women, and they're generally talking about themselves as white women. But reproductive justice comes from the genius of Black women. So I just wanted to adjust that a bit, because, the ability to win on any political or legislative or policy issue around reproductive health rights or justice has come from Black women and femmes and girls and gender expansive folks. So the conversations we're having right now in this campaign on reproductive justice, notice sometimes they use reproductive justice, sometimes they don't. Reproductive justice comes from Black women and is about Black women and women and folks of color. And so that, again, for me, is everything. We're living in a post-Roe world and a post-Roe v. Wade society. But what I always say is that this is our opportunity to actually create the things that we want politically and legally. The legal framework for abortion access can now be greater than what Roe ever was. And so, yes, we had to lose to win again, because we lost Roe because we had Trump in office who elected multiple judges. But what we won is the battles in every state for abortion access. There are 7 ballot initiatives coming up in the general election around abortion access. And that energy is going to drive the outcome of this race for president, the campaign for president. The other piece that's deeply connected is what I mentioned before.
Oh no, did we lose Rep Mays?
Hey, we're gonna wait for she come back, but I'm gonna piggyback and in addition to the repro, and she talked about abortion and the legislation that's on the book. I think she said 7 right now across the nation. We have to talk about self-managed abortions, because in the masculine assertive community, especially those who are, because there's still some down low folks who still, would you say, Carolyn, you're not wearing a dress, but there's still some folks who out here who it isn't safe for them. Oh, Amber ain't wearing a dress.
I'm not.
Okay, Carolyn, so you wearing a dress. I got it. But so I'm keeping it real. So, I mean, it's still the folks who don't have, it's not safe for them to be their authentic selves. And if they do become pregnant by their male partners, they don't feel comfortable going to the traditional Planned Parenthood or abortion clinic if they are so happen to be in a space where it's legal. So then there's the choice of self-managed abortion and the community around that that's not talked about, to me, enough. And then we talk about reproductive justice again. Black women have higher occurrences of ovarian cancer, of cervical cancer, of PCOS, of all of these endometriosis, all of these other reproductive illnesses and diseases and ailments that, especially, masculine identified, our bodies, because we do different things, sometimes our bodies do different things. It's not put at the forefront, our health and wellness, and then that drives our mental health. I'm sure somebody's going to come on with mental health as well. But all of those things, funnel down to, us being well holy.
You all, go ahead and jump in. Whoever's about to jump in.
Oh, I can chime in. One of the things I want people to understand is that when researchers research for when they talk about Black lesbians, they group us in that. Okay. And we can't be, and it's nothing. I understand. Yes, we love women, but we have a certain, and this is research that my organization, Real Boys Talk, did when it was a program to find out, because in Atlanta at one point, there were doctors getting masculine presenting women in their office with stage 4 cervical cancer, stage 4 breast cancer. And it was alarming. So there was an organization that these doctors talked to. And with the research we found was that we were not going because of the discrimination we were getting when we walked in the door, because of the presentation. And then that puts guilt on us, which plays on our mental health. Think about this, ladies, is that if we don't do the right thing, we are just now getting it where I see my masculines going to lay on couches, getting that toxicity taken away from them, getting it off of them, becoming healthy. We won't have it no more. We're just now at that door is opening where we can walk in and be able to know that it's okay to be who you are and to walk in your truth. And as a health situation, when you're having children, let's say your partner wants to have your child, do you know how difficult it is for you to be able to put your last name on that child? And it's your egg in your wife's body. But yet you gotta become a second parent to that child that is yours. When your partner says, baby, I got you, I'll do this for you. So those are things that I think are going to be put in the forefront of conversations. And I agree with everything that you guys have said. I just want us to make sure we understand that as individuals, I need everybody to think about that.
Rio, why don't you go ahead and jump in there?
Absolutely. So just as someone who suffers from PCOS or is living with PCOS, it is important to have someone who understands that it is something that's prominent in Black women, mostly MASC presenting Black women. People don't talk about it. Most Black women don't find out that they have PCOS or anything of that nature until they're at a space where they're looking to have children and it's already too late. And we need individuals who want to continue to make sure that we're able and healthy to reproduce in whatever kind of way we decide to do so, because it's important for us to continue to leave a legacy. But however, I want to say, when Tiara said identity politics, we can't forget that although, and somebody who in the comments said, not assuming that we're trans, which is something that happens to me every single day because I'm a cisgender woman with PCOS. My facial hair is natural. I'm not trans. However, we have to talk about the trans community and where Kamala stands, because a lot of people put us in that same box, which makes it dangerous. We can't use bathrooms. We can't go to spaces. We can't show up as ourselves, depending on where we are, without someone with us, because we have individuals who are trying to take the rights away from the most marginalized, which also people don't realize affects masculine presenting women, cisgender women, in like all of us. And we're seeing that everywhere. Just thinking about how invasive it's been for Black female athletes in the past, because let's talk about relevancy. In the past 3 weeks, for Black female athletes, especially queer Black female athletes, mask presenting Black female athletes, the invasive measures that they go to try to paint us as something as we're not, because they don't understand, is a huge part of why we have to be on the right side of someone who's going to allow identity politics to be you being your authentic self, whatever that looks like. And I think Nalo, and I don't know if I said your name correctly, but you said there's ambiguities. There's no gender norms when it comes to that. And we need someone who sees that and is going to make sure that policies also follow what that is, so that we can walk in our truths and have policies that really protect us, not segregate us or not isolate us.
Well, Nalo, you got name check, so what you got to say to that?
I appreciate name checks. You feel me? I'm gonna say that the thing that I think mask people need to see, especially from Kamala, or the reason that's a very a support that we need to back, I think, is because, one, we in a bipartisan, we don't really have the layers of options that, and it's like, it mind boggles me. Like, I almost have to laugh to not bust out crying here, because when you think about it, it's such a liminal identity to be a queer masculine person. People are projecting all sorts of things on us, and you get men who's trying to rein the leash back on us to figure out if we really who we are or whatever. And then you got, everything about what it means to take care of a body with a vagina or a reproducing body is a high femme culture of marketing, doesn't include us. Like, even when we think about womanism, feminism, like, it's pink. It's the t-shirts, the balloons, like, it's all surrounding a particular level of men accept this visible representation of what a woman is. And I want us to degender woman, such that when we do any campaign for women, people need to come find some of us. And that's what I want to see from Kamala. I want to see Kamala be mindful that she used to look like, I mean, y'all know that one picture that's circulating. Look, there you go. Real got that joint up. I'm just saying, like, and it don't even matter if you are queer. Like, think about it, basketball players. Yeah, basketball players, athletes, all types of they get masculinity projected onto them. Our protection is valuable for the sake of the impacts that it has on all women. Similar to trans women, right? Like, we transcend so many variations of normalized identity that I think people grow uncomfortable with, and I think we need to be on the side that allows more possibility. Project 2025 saying what it say, y'all. He said what he said. You feel me? Like, I'm trying to figure out what we're doing here. Like, I understand all the ways that we, we need to check a person out and make sure that they values is they values, because this is a money game. You was just talking about that. You got to have some money and some influence, and the people with the money that's giving it, you got to be willing to do what they want you to do. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like there's such a balance, and I can't imagine what that's like for Kamala as a Black woman also. So I think for me, I want to be mindful that all encompassing of what everyone has already said, and that I think generally we need to be more included in the process of women's rights, of reproductive rights. Like, y'all not thinking about us because you like, oh, you're not allowing no whatever in your body. You don't even know. I'm not saying I'm allowing.
You guys told me that the other day. He said, you don't know what I be putting up there.
When I say we, I don't gotta separate myself from the we, because I'm saying it's community persons that look like me that do take it, leave it, receive it, turn it around, flip it up, and I'm cool with what you like, baby. Pleasure center is whatever you need it to be. And I don't, and I think that it's important to actually see what that looks like. Get to know my masculine, get to know us, rather than projecting, the culture of manhood onto us and making us some pretend identity. I want to see Kamala make us real in the way that she also has us part of what policy making looks like, what healthcare looks like, all that. Because I'm just not seeing enough of us around the political space in that way.
I saw you come off mute, Asia. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I think just to kind of I agree with that, what everybody is saying. And I think one thing about, especially Nala, what you were just saying as far as understanding our masculinity, and even just looking at everybody that's on this panel right now, we all represent different types of masculinity. Yes. And, and so how we look and how we show up, one, people always are going to make assumptions about us, period. We don't get the luxury of being like a feminine presenting woman to where if we're in the workplace or if we're in community, if we are anywhere in public, people make assumptions about everything about us just because of the way that we physically show up. They may assume that we want our pronouns to be he, him, or them, they, they will probably make those assumptions. And Brielle, I'm glad that you brought up even about PCOS, because that's something that I personally deal with as well. And so even when you start to learn even more about that, about how some of hormonal wise, some of the testosterone that you have naturally in the facial hair and things that, you might not necessarily want that, but that's just something genetically that you have. So, people may assume that because you present masculine energy, that's something that that you're choosing to do. So Ryan,
I'm going to ask you, if you will, a lot of people don't know what you're giving us, PCOS. A lot of people don't know what that is. Do y'all mind giving us a little bit more information, if you don't, just so that people know exactly what that is? Because somebody out there might not know, and if you'll define it for them, they might be able to help them as well.
Okay, Brielle, I don't know if you might have the more textbook version of it, because I know.
Yeah, so yeah. I could chime in. So it's PCOS is the acronym for polycystic ovarian syndrome. It is normally classified as you could have multiple or some ovaries. You could have one cyst on your ovaries, multiple cysts on your ovaries, cyst on your ovaries over time. But it definitely changes different hormonal aspects of who you are. That could be being insulin resistant, that could be having growing facial hair, that could be of what people want to deem excessive weight, that could also be losing hair. It could be, there's so many different aspects. Like I said, it also can affect your ability to have children, and it can affect your mental health in terms of having depression or any kind of different things that might come from that. So and like I said, for most people, me being 34 years old, forever. Also irregular periods. That's normally one of the first things that you see.
That's right.
So normally you go to the doctor, see irregular periods. The first thing they say is birth control. Or the first thing they say is, don't you want to do XYZ?
Right.
It takes forever, like I said, and there's a lack of education in most doctors, because it is prominent in Black and brown women, of what PCOS is. Yes. And women are walking around, like I said, until it's too late. They're looking to have children, and now when they go to get their egg count, now when they go to get ultrasounds, they're like, oh, well, this is what you've been dealing with for 20 years of your life.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
These are the things that come with it. So polycystic ovarian syndrome. And if you need some resources, we can definitely get some or send them out, and if people are looking for them. But there are so many individuals who are out here. I have a TikTok that talks about PCOS. You should, that we can talk about more and learn more about what it is.
Absolutely. And I thank you for doing that, guys. Okay, so now we go back to our regular program.
and so thank you for that. And I think going back to, again, even with us being women, being Black, being gay, being mask presented, it's so many different layers to us. And I feel like, especially in the medical realm, people don't always understand our pain, even when we, try to express it and talk about it, because again, we're not counting in those numbers. They're not, asking us or, giving us that information. So that's why it's so good that, even Brielle, with you opening it up, because it starts to make us feel more comfortable opening up with one another. And you find out more people in a way sometimes are suffering in silence. But until we do get that support and those different type of policies that support people like us, and then even just to start to see us more in politics, because understanding that we also got to get more involved in the politics that create these policies that reflect us. So until then, now we're having this conversation about why we're supporting Harris. And to me, one of the main things I look at, especially with politicians, is not that like when you have your platform, it's like, okay, this is what I want to stand for, but to see that there's a pattern of you already supporting these policies. And we know that Harris has, you know, just throughout her tenure have supported these policies.
And I want to kind of throw out there, we've talked a lot about healthcare, but in the realm of LGBTQ rights, and we know that there are a lot of things that are governed by the states, but some people don't know that there are some things that states still have not reversed on their books. So right now we have in California, and forgive me, y'all, I forget which proposition number it has been assigned. But basically, even though we do have the right to marry as LGBTQ folks in the state of California, there is actually a ban still on it on our constitutional books because of the language that was used. And, you know, the great fear is that even though we do have this proposition on the ballot here in the state to actually overturn that and make sure that LGBTQ marriage still remains legal, we go back again to the ability that the president has to put those Supreme Court justices in place. Because we talk about Project 2025, but a lot of these things have been going on. This has been a long game that the Republican Party has been playing. So when they got those justices onto the Supreme Court, they used, even though I'm sure he thinks he did it himself, Trump was a ruse to get that portion of their plan complete. So if they come back, if we get more justices on the court that are going to make a nationwide, that can be done by the Supreme Court. If someone does another reversal like they did of Roe, all it takes is for someone to decide to be the face of the case, and they have those things in the canon. This is a plan. The only way to stop that plan of actions and cases that they have that are going to reverse rights. You know, I was watching, I think, MSNBC the other day, or maybe listening to a podcast, and they were talking about these sit downs that they had done with folks in battleground states about Project 2025. And they said when it comes to Project 2025, the difficulty that they find is that people believe that the things in that brief is so unrealistic. They believe that their rights are so set in stone that the things that are in that policy brief can never happen. It's hard to make it real for them. Mm-hmm. But if you think about it, we thought, and even Brett Kavanaugh said, that Roe was settled law, and look at where we are now. So I just want to remind folks that, I mean, that goes to the president and, you know, in their ability to appoint. But I always remind people, like Tiara said at the top of the call too, we're trying to get you to vote for president so you remember to vote the rest of the ticket on down, because we need you to vote for your state reps as well. Max, you've been real quiet over there. Did you get your mic fixed? No. We can't
hear you.
Oh my goodness.
I know it's killing Max, because you know we know Max is the burgundy politician.
Can Max put it in the chat and we kind of like, you know, read off what they saying?
I'm gonna jump in there. Oh, go ahead, Nala. I'm sorry.
No, I was saying, since Max can't like verbally speak, like, can we get it in the chat and somebody read? I want to hear what they guys say.
She gonna come back.
Oh, they popped back.
Okay, came off.
I was gonna say, well, guys, skip them there.
I'm gonna go piggyback real quick off what Carolyn said about I really didn't know about California still having a
anti-AIDS. Get you.
I'm telling you, but it's about education and access also. As I stated, it's not just about getting Kamala as a president. Yay, we get Kamala as president, but we know the president, you know, an executive order expires at the end of your term. Legislature is much more difficult to change, right? So it starts with our, you know, local elections. And again, access and education, they're moving their chess pieces strategically to control the messaging in our local areas and communities. They're leveraging their resources to spend their money on the local elections and putting their messaging out there, whether it's right or whether it's wrong. So, you know, for us, we have to ensure that the leverage that we have right here with What in the L, Real Boys Talk, Garden State Equality, and all of the other organizations that are represented, to ensure that we're using our collective voices to educate our community, right? Educate our community and then do what we can do to provide access. Because, you know, without education and access, who we elect for president really doesn't matter, because it's going to be the same old song continue. I
she
mean,
said.
I'm gonna be a real bit controversial. I'm gonna say everybody thought when Barack Obama became president, it was like, oh yeah, but we know that some shit didn't change and some shit got worse, right? So we have to ensure that, you know, we go back to the grassroots, go back to, you know, the door knocking in the projects, go back to the free clinics and just sit there and have conversations with folks who, you know, go to the Boost Mobile spot where, you know, all they doing is TikToks and, you know, whatever, but meeting our community where they are, because, you know, they not all here with us. They're not all on social media. They're not all, you know, reading Project 2025 or listening to a podcast.
It's
For
only
us
900 pages.
You know what I'm saying?
I'm reading Barack Obama's book right now. It's 600 pages.
You know, these people are not reading their whole lease contracts, let alone Project 2025.
Oh.
Like, come on, like keeping it real with
Look,
people.
you better say that.
Can
Okay,
Not
go
even
ahead,
a
Max.
cell
What you
phone
got?
contract.
We
Go
still
ahead.
can't hear you.
Put it, type it
Y'all
in the
still
chat and
can't
we'll
hear
read it
me?
out.
Oh, there you go.
Okay, y'all can hear me now?
There we go.
Yes.
There we go. We hear
Thank
you.
God.
Let's go, Max.
Okay. And I work in telecommunications. Jesus. So I want to say this when it comes to our LGBTQ protections, right? I abruptly married my now wife in 2016, right after Trump got elected. And the reason being is because we were so scared of what was going to happen to our right to get married and for her to take my last name. That's scary. That's scary. And to think that same rhetoric is being displayed right now 100 times worse. And we still have people falling for this. You don't think this man don't want Handmaid's Tale in America? Do we not see this? Hello? Do we not see the disrespect for women, for Black women? Listen to what he's telling you. He's giving it to you straight. And you still have those people who are right behind him. And unfortunately, my barber, my former barber in Atlanta, she voted for Trump in 2016. She voted for Trump. And I had to sit there and please understand, yes, I still went to her so she could cut my hair because she is the baddest in the A, but we had to have some real conversation. When you went into those polls and you voted for him, you voted everything against me. You voted against the fact that I'm Black. You voted against the fact that I'm a woman and you're a woman. How about that? And a woman of color. And you are of Hispanic descent. Come on, y'all. Come on. And we use the term woke, but I'm going to need for some people to wake up. Our lives are on the line as Black masculine women. Our lives are on the line. Our mental health is on the line. It's already bad enough that we are not taken seriously when it comes to our health, right? On a social ladder, let's be real. On a social ladder, we are the bottom of the bottom. We are Black, we are women, we are queer. And we're different because we want to be men, right? Which is a whole nother conversation. But let's be real. We on a social ladder, we are at the bottom, but we make the most impact ever. Who started this movement? It was Black women who started this. Yeah. Black women started the call to action. It was Black women who did it. And right behind them came the Latinos, the Asians, the queer, the white men, the white women. We've never seen anything like this before because now people are really opening their eyes and seeing how dangerous this man is. And to be honest, and I'm talking to my pro-lifers, my pro-lifers here. Y'all was okay getting rid of abortion, making abortion illegal. Y'all was okay with it. But then guess what? Y'all realized it was affecting your families. It started affecting your household because your husband can't get you pregnant and you got to go see Planned Parenthood and gyno and you got to go get IVF, but you fail to realize that that went away with abortion too. So now it's affecting your household. That's why now people are so riled up, because back then, yeah, we need to have these babies. Okay. But guess what? Y'all forgot what else was attached to that too. IVF, reproductive rights, all of that stuff. You can't even get a shot anymore. Your doctors are scared to get sued, to lose their medical license, their livelihoods. They can't even take care of us anymore. That's why it's important to vote. That is why it's important to understand what these people are talking about. I stay at my piece.
So I'm gonna add on to that.
You extra time because you have been, Mike had been broke so long.
I'm gonna add on to that because we being real, correct?
We being real.
And if you, for those who don't know, I'm gonna put the disclaimer out there. Real boys talk. We get real because we're adults.
And feel free to use colorful language.
Yes, and I am all about the colorful language. But here's a thought. When my father was walking and wanting and fighting for us to have the right to vote, there was the KKK. They were burning down, they're burning churches, they were burning crosses in people's yard. We don't see that, right? None of us on here have ever seen that in our time, right? But guess what? They told their kids, they said, oh, we can't do that anymore. That's not effective. So what we're going to do is I'm going to make little Johnny here. You're going to grow up. You're going to become the police. I'm going to let little Susie here or Miss Margaret, Marjorie Green Taylor, you're going to grow up and we're going to put you in the government spot. So that's where they are now. But guess what we're telling our kids? Oh, let's be like Sexy Red. Hey, let's go out here and let's do these crazy things. Let's be all into this entertainment. Hey, let's do a diss track against somebody. That's the shit that has got to stop. Because it's they going, please, let's be real about this. People are looking at us and going, they're not paying attention. So let's go over here and we can take this away, we can take that away, take that away. Do we all understand that the Civil Rights Act has not been signed? It hasn't been signed. So today, any day, they could say, you, Black people, can't vote. I need people to hear what we're saying. And this is not, and I'm not just talking, mass presenting, get off your asses. Because they're going to take it away. You want to be sexy. You want to be all stud. You want to be all cool. You want to be all cool. You want to be masculine. You want your masculine energy to come to the forefront. Then you got to vote. You have a person that will back you. She will support you. And I agree. We got to put more of us out there in the political arena. And we have the voices that can do it. Many of you are on here as panels that are going to do it, have done it, and will continue to do it. But guess what? You need us who are sitting around digging up our nose or finger up our asses to get off of them to help you do it again next year. This ain't a one-time thing, guys. November, yeah, we've been saying, and I know people tired every year. Every time we get ready, this is the one, this is the life. We're gonna die if you don't vote. But shit, it's the truth.
It's the truth. Every single one. Think about it. 2020, Joe Biden. 2016, Donald Trump. It should have been Hillary Clinton. 2012, Barack Obama almost didn't make it. 2008, he had to fight to get it. Before that, 8 years of W. Then before that, Clinton, that was shaky. Then before that, Bush won. Like, we've been fighting for, I don't know how old y'all are. I'm 45. And I remember I'm about to tell y'all a real Louisiana country ass story. Okay. When I was 5, I'm in DeRidder, Louisiana. My teacher, she decided we was going to do a fake election. We was gonna do a fake election where we got the vote. And I was so proud to go home and tell my great grandmother that I have voted for Ronald Reagan. And that go back to the money. She already put the because that's the who was I seeing on TV all the time?
Reaganomics. Trickle down. Let's do it. I'm a little bit older than you, so I know.
Right now, was that Dukakis in '84? I think I don't even remember. Jesse Jackson.
Yep. Mike Dukakis.
Yep. I was in Louisiana. I voted for who I had seen on the TV. That's the money is important. But I want to go to our next because we are out past the top of the hour. Y'all in the late time zones, and we got a couple of. I don't think we're gonna make it through all the issues, y'all. But I want to kind of roll some of them up into one and see if we can tackle them because
and if not, guys, we will do a part 2.
Oh yeah, and everybody's gonna want to be on that panel.
End of this conversation.
Can I pause y'all real quick though, because there's something that we miss, and I feel like all the time the most vulnerable people in this part right now are our youth, our LGBTQ youth, and we haven't mentioned them not one time. We talked about the babies, we talked about the but if it's going to go past now, it's about laying down the groundwork for our future, and that's our youth. And we know that they are at the forefront of all the policies that are anti-LGBTQ. And the reason why is because, like the individual, I don't know, because all of us said some good shit, but like the individual who talked about Project, and what the agenda is, defunding DEI in schools is on the list. And that is why we got banned books everywhere, because representation matters. And they know that if these individuals see themselves to be someone, to be an elected official, to be the president, to be any of these things, that's why Kamala is a nightmare for all of them, because for us to see ourselves in a space that breathes success, you can't stop us. And they're trying to do that in our books. They're trying to do that in our lessons. They're trying to do that in every space. And for me, as like I said, 34-year-old, I didn't have a Black mask presenting woman that I could emulate to know that this is who I'm supposed to be. So when they take Audre Lorde out of the books and we can't see our auntie who paved the way, there's not going to be a future, because they're trying to silence us in every single way that they can. And when we bring it, how we bring that back to Kamala is that, and I started talking about Howard, when you go to HBCU, they put representation in every lesson you get, even if it's with numbers. So Kamala knows how to protect education to make sure that the individuals that follow us also see themselves in a future. And we have been conditioned not to do that as Black individuals, as women, and as queer individuals. So we have to make sure that we protect the freedoms. And I think Tiara said access to education, because that is what's going to continue to allow us to have those protections after Kamala is our president. So I just had to talk about the babies because
thank you.
I want to pose this question to both Asia and Rep Mays, because it goes back to what you were saying as far as the youth. And someone on here talked about the lack of awareness, and it was Amber talked about, masculine centered women getting involved, getting off your ass, getting educated. One of the reasons that we wanted to have this call is because we were seeing, especially across the internet sphere, so many of our mask presenting young women, especially the young women, who are attaching to a lot of the toxic things that were coming out of the mouths of Black men. And that is unfortunately something that we have seen, all of us have seen for years, for decades, for generations, as far as, our younger folk. I don't know. I've never figured out how to verbalize this. If it's feeling like a certain type of masculinity is more accessible to them, feeling uncomfortable in school, so not, wanting to be with the boys playing out on the street instead of like sticking to school or whatever that is. But one thing that I've experienced, and this is why I wanted to pose it to Asia and Rep Mays, because one thing I experienced as an elected official is that I don't want to say people were paying less attention to policies or to my policies, but I would get a lot of young people who were just solely talked about seeing me on a billboard in a suit. I would get people calling me, telling me that their niece or somebody said, I saw Auntie in a suit. I mean, it was me on top of San Pablo Avenue in a green suit. So both of you are, mask presenting. Rep Mays always got the, the fly hat on. what do you think as far as this representation of making sure, you know, the 100 black men always say what you can see is what you can be. We wanted to create this space where you have politically involved and educated masculine center women saying you can be this too. Have you all experienced that in your time as elected officials?
And I want to add, before you answer, Rep Mays, I want to add for y'all to also answer on the backside of that, just because I think it's in tandem. But and also on top of that, what do you say to the masculine people who are so used to things happening to us because of the lack of representation, that we don't know that we can do things for us and that we are also capable, right? Like, how do we make that accessibility start with what we believe about ourselves?
Absolutely. And one, thank you for this incredible conversation. I do got to jump off and get back to my baby because it's late over here. It's past my bedtime.
I think.
But and I'm sorry if I cut off earlier, and I look forward to another conversation too. One of the first things a supporter asked me, he said, it's like he's more of a creative type, of politically tapped in, and I knew he was a culture maker who could really influence support in certain spaces of the Black community in Pittsburgh. He said to me, "Do you really think you, as he?" And I didn't take it as an offense. I just was like, I couldn't believe that was his first question, but I wasn't offended. He said, "Do you really think that this district and this community is ready to elect an out, dark-skinned, masculine presenting lesbian to be their next state representative?" And I had a moment, a nanosecond of doubt, but I turned to him. I said, absolutely. And if they're not ready, they better get ready. And so what I know people respect above anything is you being yourself. They respect that more than anything you could say to them about your campaign platform, what you've done, who you are, what you're going to do. They respect you for being yourself. I know and understand what my presence means in a General Assembly that I'm the only person like me who has ever walked through those halls as an elected official. And so there is more scrutiny. One of my elder Black legislators, he said, people are going to be very interested, intrigued, fascinated by you and your life. And I'm like, why? I'm just me, but it matters for us to be there as Black women. There's only 13 of us out of 253. One just resigned, unfortunately won't be replaced by another Black woman. So now we're down to 12 out of 253 legislators. My presence makes a difference for Western PA because I'm only the second Black woman ever elected from Western Pennsylvania. The first is our Congressmember, Summer Lee. It matters to be a LGBTQ woman in a same gender relationship who is also masculine of center. So I haven't always presented this way, but for most of my adult life, I have. On my campaign, somebody was like, I mean, I will vote for her, but she creating gender confusion. Oh. I was like, what? What is, of all the things you heard this volunteer say about me, that's what you focused on? Because I was sharp and had a hat on? But being yourself is the greatest gift you can give yourself as a person, but also as a leader and a candidate and someone who's in an elected office. So I know people pay attention to what I do, what I say, what I wear, more than they do any other woman, any other queer or trans person who's elected. And but I've also championed issues that impact Black women across all gender presentations or identities, so that kind of throws people off too. But I continue to show up as myself. It's important for young queer and trans folks, youth to see us, to know us, to connect with us. Because for many of us, they've never seen anyone like us in a position of visible power. And that makes a difference for generations to come. And it's across the board, whether they're identifying as young women or girls or non-binary or masculine, regardless of gender. I mean, it's rare to see Black people, Black women, and Black queer folks in elected office and political power. And I think that matters the most. But we have to cultivate them too. We have to be intentional about hiring them on our staff, hiring ourselves on our staff, providing those internships, or even just mentoring, I'm doing a mentoring circle now. I never saw myself as a mentor to people, but how will they know that they can run for office if they never have the opportunity to run for office or work on a campaign or fundraise? And so it does make a difference. I don't see enough queer Black youth in the state house or come into the Capitol or being in these spaces. These spaces are still very white and male. Even if they are queer, they're still very white and male and of a certain age, which is like 50 and older. No shade to people 50 and older. I'm on the upside of that myself, but they're not seeing themselves represented in so many pieces on the government side, on the policy side, on the legislative side, and the campaign or electoral side. And that's what we have to change. We very much are in organizing spaces, service spaces, but we're not where there's actual decision-making power. And that's what I've learned the last year and a half as a legislator. Sorry to be long. I just wanted to answer all the questions, and thank you all again for having me.
I'm so happy that you are here, and that's what I was gonna say. Give us your one last pitch before for VP Harris, and then I would go to Asia because I know you got to go. But I think you made that because again, her history here in San Francisco, she is all about us being ourselves. So again, Rep Mays, we are thankful to have you. We are definitely going to clearly we need more masculine presenting women political conversations. So this is going to be the last.
Yes. And before you leave, I don't know if she already left, but to the rep, listen, I just thank you for being present and being in that space, because what we do is we do open it up for more people to follow behind. Somebody got to be the first. But thank you for being and showing up as your authentic self in those spaces. Thank you.
Absolutely.
And I just want to lead in first with saying, before I got into politics, y'all, I am a poet. I am an artist, and
that's where I knew you from. I didn't even know you. I was like, I know.
When you brought up Audre Lorde, I gotta say, my favorite quote. If I don't define myself for myself, then I will be crunched into other people's identities of me, fantasies of me, and eaten alive. I think that is one of the most powerful quotes. And then also, shameless plug. As a poet, one of my favorite poems that I wrote is called "Rock What You Got," which I was able to turn into a children's book. So when you start talking about youth, me and my sister, we've had so many years of dealing with education and dealing with the youth in our community. So I feel proud as a MASC presenting woman to be able to have a book that has impacted the lives of so many people, particularly our young people. And the fact that it's coming from me, so it doesn't matter really where the message comes from, but the fact that it is someone that is MASC presenting, that's instilling a message of loving yourself and loving how you show up. Even on the cover, one of the characters is like an androgynous looking individual. And I thought to myself, I'm like, when I was in the 5th or 6th grade, like that's me. That's how I showed up. And to know that, there are young people in our community that grow up and as they're finding out who they are, their identity, that will kind of change as they evolve. It's just good to see representation. So me getting involved in politics was not even something that I ever dreamed of. I actually got a poem called "All Y'all Crooked" that talk about politicians until I became one. So I'm like, you know what? We really got to be the change that we want to see. We really can't count on, legislators, policymakers, elected officials to be our voice. Like, at some point, we really do have to rally behind people and get more of us in those positions, because in the meanwhile, we can just, rely on those people who are in those seats who have some of our values, but more of us need to be, just guided into those positions so that we can have that representation. But I love the fact that as long as I can remember, I've always just been unapologetically me. I come from a community and from a tribe and from a family that always allowed me to just express however I show up. And so in my years of being in the community, being in education, you know, working with the unhoused community, working with the senior citizens, working with, and so when you think about senior citizens who are so like set in their ways, at the end of the day, when it comes to providing resources, providing information to people, I don't think it matters so much how you present and how you show up when people just need help. And I think that when you show up as your authentic self and always just be a reflection of love, because we can be a reflection of love no matter who we are interacting with and who we're engaging with. And I love the fact that, especially in my local community, I just show up as who I am. And what you visually see, you can make all the assumptions that you want, but at the end of the day, what you're going to experience is a human that cares, that you had a need and that person met that need. You know, and so I think that more of us that, you know, even right now, just around this table, whatever, like as we, you know, interact and engage with individuals in the communities that we are centered in, we just have to be very intentional about not changing who we are and not changing how we show up, you know, because again, a lot of times it's just how we dress, you know, who we are on the inside, you know, again, don't assume that because people are masculine presenting that like they don't want to be a woman, or they only want to be a man. And if that's their choice, that's okay too. But don't assume that about us, because typically who we are is usually rooted in so much love and so much empathy and compassion for everyone. So it would be awesome if people would just have that same level of respect for us. But until we get to that space, I think that it's just important for more of us to build community and build like a circle of support with each other, because we need to know who each other are, you know, across the country. Like I need to know who the rep is, so that like if I'm in those spaces or if we need to call on each other, that we can quickly form and come together and then help to build up a community where young people could see themselves in these positions. So right now it's awesome that we're talking about Kamala, but I would love that conversation when we're comfortable enough to be like, hey, we want to stand behind a mass presenting woman running for president, you know.
You know, I considered it until Kamala announced, and no, I'm not, and honestly, I'm not. I had decided, looking at freaking Pete Buttigieg, where the hell ever he from, Indiana. I knew that whether Joe Biden ran and finished his 4 years, or whether it was Donald Trump who ran, there was going to be an open presidential seat in 2020. Was it 2028? I had decided I was going to run and see what happened. But now Kamala there, I'm not going, you know, I'm going to do something else.
I know one other thing we didn't really touch on, you know, because we talked about how, like, you know, when it came out that she was going to be the presumptive nominee, and, you know, like Black women got behind her, all the different nationalities, the men, the white dudes and everything. But we have not talked about the fact that Republicans that are standing up and saying, we're going to vote for Kamala as well. That is powerful.
$4 million in one night. White Republicans for Trump. Yep.
That is powerful.
Republicans for Harris, but yes.
yes, Republicans for Harris. My bad.
Yeah. Even his own inner circle is getting on CNN every day, begging and pleading him to stop attacking Kamala Harris. They're showing that they have finally figured out they hitched their cart to the wrong horse. Yeah. But if they're too far down the road.
Yes, indeed.
I want to give, I know Tierra has a heart out, and now we're already at 9:30, but I want to give you one last time to, you know, say your piece and say, yay, Kamala Harris.
Well, yay, Kamala Harris, but yay, y'all, let's stay connected. Let's ensure that we're continuing. I mean, What L is created to amplify the voices of lesbians, however you show up. So let's ensure that we're staying connected, and whatever is happening in Pennsylvania, in North Carolina, in California, in Georgia, wherever you are, in New Jersey, that we're staying connected, and we are ensuring that our voices, our issues, the things that directly impact us are put in the forefront. Yes, we're going to continue to do this, and I will be a staunch advocate and continue to wave my Kamala Harris flag, but I also want to ensure that we have continue to educate our youth. We continue to educate our elders who say that it doesn't really matter. I've been through this. You know, continue to educate, and doing your part, and continue to show up authentically as yourself. Again, I'm Tierra Craig on all across social media. I'm Miss Tierra Craig on Gmail. I wasn't at Tierra and wasn't L. If you want to contact me, you can contact me. But let's ride this thing till the wheels fall off for us, because we are about to be the ancestors, y'all. So we have to continue to pave that road for others, to be the example, to be the change, whichever cliche you want to throw on it, y'all. It starts here. And if we don't do it, who will? Right? If not now, then when?
Amen.
So
don't leave us yet. Don't leave us yet, because I want her to do her plug. She'll be at the LGBT Greek weekend. She is doing a workshop. Please come and find out what is
in the L.
Please, it is a workshop. It is on Saturday. I believe it will start at
31st. Yep.
Georgia State
University Student Center. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yes. So please, I'm hoping both of you guys are gonna be there. Is that what's happening, or is it just you?
Well, we gonna see if Brielle can come down. We got to figure it out. We got to see if we can get the deputy director to put that in the budget.
Let's see. And if
what's the date?
We can do it again next year.
31st of August.
31st of August. Let me check my calendar.
Atlanta, Georgia.
Listen, it's a pride event. I mean, that's already, you can make that. You can swing that.
You being recorded, so you have agreed.
Send me the info.
I got you.
So definitely, we want to make sure that we support as well. So thank you,
Tierra.
All right, y'all.
Thank you so much.
Take care.
But we're already at an hour and a half. I'm actually gonna ask one last question so I can get all you late folks out of here. And this really is about Project 2025. We can touch Project 2025 in each one of these things that we do, because again, it's 900 pages. But I want to start with you, Max, because this was definitely something that was on your heart as far as the impact specifically of Project 2025 on LGBTQ and masculine presenting folks. Like, how do you feel? What are you seeing in the Project 2025 that's going to directly affect our community?
I mean, let's just call a spade, right? Can y'all hear me?
Yep.
Okay, let's just call a spade, right? They don't want us to exist on any level. They don't want us to exist at all. So it's a very dangerous concept, right? On all levels. As someone masculine presenting, I have to think where we are on this social ladder, right? The bottom of the barrel. And we are perceived and even have been told that we want to be like Black men, which is very disheartening, because I'm a woman. I'm proud to be a woman. And to think how we will be treated if this goes into effect. The discrimination, the loss of jobs, the loss of health care. Oh, we lost one.
No, I think that was Tierra exiting.
Was it?
Oh no, we lost Brielle.
Oh no, we lost.
Oh no,
Amber.
we lost Amber. Okay,
we lost the heavy hitter now.
We lost the person running. Oh, there. Okay.
There she go. I have not gone through the whole 900 pages of this thing. And to be honest, I'm scared to go through it. I'm scared to really, really deep dive through this thing, because there are people who wrote this and believe this for real. I'm not only scared for me as being masculine presenting, I'm scared for my brother who is also trans, my friends who are trans. I'm scared for my femme lesbian women, my queer women who are no labels. I'm scared that it will be hunting season on our lives. We've seen it before. The insurrection just didn't happen out the blue. That was something that was And they spoke about it before it even happened. They told y'all what was going to happen before it even happened. And you have people who are talking about, if she wins, we will take our country back by any means necessary. What you think that means? What do you think that means? So I don't put it past anyone to be extreme, because we've seen it happen before. And I am pro 2A. Anybody who know me know I am pro 2A all day long. But I also understand what needs to happen in this country. Those type of people don't need AR-15s. Because again, by any means necessary, if you can go to the Capitol and break in and threaten the lives of our elected officials, kill police officers, kill themselves, destroy and vandalize something that was built, our democracy was in jeopardy that day. What you think gonna happen if Project 2025 get through?
They're gonna do it, and they will have immunity from doing it.
They just passed it, right? Didn't they just say, President?
Well, they passed it for him. They have it. He has promised in 2025.
I'm just saying, but it's a possibility that it could happen. We have to think. We have to think on the far, far extreme of this thing, because we've seen it happen before. You have to think like that. You have to, and for the individuals who make excuses for him, who make those excuses for them, who say it's okay for him to stand there and disrespect that woman the way he has, y'all ought to be shamed too. Y'all ought to be shamed. It shows your character. It shows your morale. Because if you can't call out your people, then what good are you? You a yes man? You a yes man for real? I'm gonna need somebody to say no sometime. I'm gonna need for some people to say, this ain't right. We need that, and we have that in Harrison Walls.
Let me stop you here, bro, because Nalo has to go, and I definitely wanted to get Nalo's opinion about a lot of the more difficult issues, especially when we talk about police reform, and I know we talked about Palestine. So
we got time, family. We got so much more time, God willing, in that life stay in our bodies to think through these things. And it is a process. So I'm so thankful that you even want me as a thinker to speak on these things, for sure. Something that I heard a couple people say, Asia, and someone else I can't recall, but we were talking about how we were perceived, and I want to be mindful of compassion for our people and people who look like us, because the perception that's attached is based on, patriarchal masculinities, right? And we kind of fall up under the consequences of that already being constructed, right? So if you call the police, we probably the ones getting arrested. We need to care about police reform. And not police reform. Let me change that language, because the language of reform sticks me a little bit. Okay. And I said that because of the language that was just used. And with respect to that, we can allow complexity to exist within the language we have and it not be a pushback. But I wanted to recognize that, because how we're perceived is etched in stone because of how hypnotized everyone is under the lens of patriarchy. That's why we're seen as men. Okay. You looked at something masculine and you said, oh, that's you supposed to take the trash out. How did that? So there's a whole plethora of different outcomes that are produced organically from how we're socialized as a consequence to how we're socialized to be perceived. And that's why it's important to be mindful of how we practice care and where we put our support. What does that look like? How do masculine people show up in love, in care, in fortified community? I'm not disposing of my niggas. excuse my language if we're not supposed to say that, but
Cold
I'm not
feet.
disposing
Go
of,
right ahead.
you feel me? I'm just gonna say that. So as an abolitionist, that also means that yes, I'm holding my community accountable. Sometimes that means holding you down. Sometimes that means holding you up. Sometimes it means holding it with you. But we holding, you feel me? And I want us to be mindful of that in elections, because sometimes it's not about your emotion or what you understand or what you can comprehend. Maybe you don't know as much, but do you have trust in community that you can say is organizing for the liberation of Black, queer, trans youth lives that you trust? Because if no one's in your village like that, you don't have the range to be talking about these things a certain way either. And I think that that's important to talk about. I don't know everything about why something should or should not be done. And, you know, I trust the rep that just left here. I trust Asia. You know what I'm saying? I trust how the people who have, you know, been around me and nourished and nurtured me as a masculine person, how they have, you know, built that trust with me, right? There's a relationship that says community isn't one person having all the no's. Sometimes where I don't understand, I'm going to follow your lead, bro. You feel me? And I think that's important, because sometimes we want the answers to satiate us. We want the responses to satiate us and satisfy us a certain way. It's not about your pleasure. We ain't in no pleasure if a Trump, come on now. So I want us to be mindful of how we're perceived being something that's kind of static and almost out of our control. We know who we are, and we always going to be battling being sifted through the lens of patriarchal masculinities, right? Because it takes time to normalize us being the people we are. You know what I'm saying? How we practice care is important, because masculinity, patriarchal masculinities have bred and abused and enacted violence, right? So we are just another level of branding to that, to people who cannot see us as a nuanced representation of what masculinities can be. And I think those things are important for this election, because Kamala needs all versions of our, you know, community standard to be above how it makes us feel or what we 100% are experts on. You ain't read no book, but you want to understand something. I want us to be more mindful of how that accountability rests with the effort we've put to be in community, to come to these meetings, to be on a call like this and hear what we got to say, right? And I think that that's important, because, you know, that representation, you know, matters so much. And when I did my TEDx talk at LSU, this is what we talking about. It's a reason why they not showing, you know, queer masculine and lesbians with facial hair from PCOS on a tampon commercial. You feel me? It's a reason they not having us in pregnancy ads. It's you know what I'm saying? We don't fit the imagery. And I think that what matters is that we still know that there's a role that we play. We're not going to look like they want us to look, because they want us to be consumable by men. They want our bodies to belong to patriarchy the way that they think femme ones do. And I'm saying that is not enough to get our support, right? We are here to be practitioners of a forwardness that allow us to have more visibility and room. So I wanted to throw that tidbit in there, and I'm always down to come through and talk through these very complicated strategies and how we trust each other in the midst of a world that has made us feel like individuals. This election needs togetherness. We too scattered. You got people voting for Green Party. You got, like, do y'all know what happens if a Trump is elected? I did read the 900 pages with a group of my friends. I read through it, and I can tell I have a list right here of what happens to masculine people. So we can do that on another call.
Yes, we do need to do that on another call.
Just
that.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Very traditional and very back to white man nuclear family. Everybody. I don't care who you are. So stress people need to get with it, all of it. And I'm just so thankful to share space with each of you. This has been phenomenal. And I would like to, if you'll have me, you know, be back to talk more about these things and to show up so that, you know, people on my platform also are able to see that I am out supporting a Harris Waltz ticket in November, and I'm immovable in that, right? For the sake of trans people, for the sake of queer people, for the sake of Black children and women, and our bodies staying ours.
Well, and I want to, before you, because I know you have to go, but what you said was so important, and it's a reason why I'm so happy that you are here, of course, as a thinker who's read the whole fucking 900 pages. But when
with some friends, we did sections.
With some friends. I don't know about in you all states, but in California, everybody separates themselves by conservative, moderates, and progressives. And a lot of times we're so caught in our silos, just like we are nationally, that we don't understand that sometimes we do have to coalesce. And we talked about this when we talked about the possibility of having a Democratic primary. So folks kind of got upset with me when I said, remember when Hillary and Bernie were in the primary and the Democratic Party could not coalesce around whoever came out of that race. And that, amongst another bunch of other reasons, was one of the reasons why she lost. And so I appreciate you as far as talking about, I'm learning as an elected official in the Bay Area of all places, how do you hold both the quote unquote moderates and the progressives? How do you hold them up and hold them down, as you said, and hold on to those morals and values? If you are Kamala Harris, who is a district attorney is a kind of a fucked up job, because I mean, you prosecuting people. Like, how do you get up from under your record when your job was to prosecute people? But it is something that we have to do if we are all going to coalesce around a candidate who we, and if nothing else, know we can push towards what we're trying to get to. She might not be where you want on one issue, on a certain issue, but she's more pushable and movable than Donald Trump is, because we're not the one that's pushing him. So I appreciate you and the conversations that you have with your platform. And yes, you will definitely be back, because we need to hear that whole list.
Yes, indeed. And I mean, I think just to close it out, it's so important to recognize that, like, one, people are human. We do this good, bad person thing so disgustingly, and I can't stand it. It's so disposing. And I'm like, raise your hand if you ain't never caused harm. Raise your hand if you ain't never had to be accountable to something. Because the issue that I have is we get on this kind of mental pedestal as if, like, somebody couldn't call us out for when we were learning and made a poor decision and hurt somebody or whatever. I'm not talking about some egregious, I want a rapist called out. Like, but I am saying that we have conflicts that we struggling to even move through, right? So when I think about the dissonance of how it makes us feel, especially me as an abolitionist, I don't fuck with no police. You feel me? There's no cop, nothing for me. And we are living in a world that is shaped a certain way, that was shaped before we got here, and that is deep in the soil. And I think it matters that we recognize the conditions and not reduce ourselves as powerless, because that's what the conditions are trying to tell us already. I'm saying that in the conditions and amongst my people, we talking about this. Are y'all sitting down with y'all? I want MASC people to do this. I want y'all to sit down with y'all homies, grab whatever your beverage, food of choice is, and I want you to just talk about how it makes you feel, what you've read about it, not what you saw on Twitter, but like engage it. We need to be making decisions that speak to outcomes, not our emotional connections to what we're powerless against. Something about the power deal between Israel and America is not going to free Palestine on nobody's ticket this coming November. I'm just going to say that out loud, and that's heartbreaking. We've been seeing burning, beheaded babies, all that stuff, and right, we've seen that in the Congo. We're not seeing the same marketing as Palestine. We've seen that in Sudan. We're not seeing the same viral posts as Palestine. And that's not to say that they are not deserving of that. I'm saying, but I am African American, and I also care about those things too. So if my vote is going to push forward things that protect people who are like me and beyond, I want those outcomes to be produced. And my fight still with Palestine, my fight still with Sudan, my fight still with Congo. We're not stopping. I don't care which one of them get elected. I'm putting my vote where I know my vote is going to matter, because I am not powerless. These are the tools we have and the conditions we know. And I want us to be mindful of that, so that we don't just mash everything up into some emotional ball that we can't even sift through well enough to form our own opinions of something.
Amen.
I hope that makes sense. Thank
you. And I want to piggyback on what she said, because that is the theme of Real Boys Talk, the podcast that we do. All of the things that we do under Real Boys Talk, all the podcasts, is take it offline and have a conversation with your people. You ain't got to like what you heard tonight. You ain't got to like none of it.
I'm going to have to check that out.
But at the end of the day, you need to take it out there and have another conversation. Tell your friends why you didn't like what you heard here today, or tell your friends what you did like here today. Because that's why I love that you literally said what we say after every show.
Love
So
it.
thank you. I'm glad that someone else also sees that this is not the only time to have this conversation. It's when you're hanging with your friends, have this conversation. So thank you.
Absolutely.
Appreciate
Thank
you,
y'all
my
so
love.
much. Big love, y'all. See you
Talk
next
to you
time.
soon.
Brio, I'm trying to be friends. So yeah, go ahead, DM me right quick. I just wanted to throw that shameless plug. I was like, hey,
I
this
got
person,
you.
the energy.
Look at my name on Instagram.
Okay,
It's
let
the
me
same
see
as
how to
what you
spell
see
it. It's kind
here.
of small.
Find me.
BRIELLEMAJETTE. Is it all together?
Yeah, whole thing. Brielle Winslow Majet. Just find
Got
me.
it.
If not,
Okay. I see
I got
you, homie.
you.
All right, y'all.
All right,
Thank you
cool.
so much.
Yes.
Big love. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Brielle, I want to bring you into the conversation. We at this point we just chatting because we didn't lost half our panel and everything. You know,
it's all good. It's all good. Everybody said everything already. The only thing I could say is that Takovi, you said something and you said it's happened before, but I want the people who are listening and the people who will listen to this if it's being recorded that it hasn't happened before. It's happening right now. Anything that's a plan, an agenda has a plan. And it starts from a jump off point. And all of the things that are listed in Project 2025 are happening now. What it wants to happen is on a grander scale, on a grandiose scale. They want a simpler path to make that happen. So when you think about changing reproductive rights to define what sex is, biological sex, already happening in legislation across the country. When you're thinking about rolling back DEI rights, you're already having people in DEI spaces, whether that's federally or in colleges, universities, losing their jobs. It's happening already. When you're thinking about just reproductive rights in terms of Roe versus Wade, it happened already. When you think about what religious school settings they're giving vouchers to individuals to go to school so that they're not going to public schools where they have to teach things about slavery, have to teach things that inclusive curriculum, have to teach anything that goes against what the agenda already says. And I feel like people who are saying that it's not going to happen, that's because in a blue state, New Jersey is a blue state, there is no such thing as a blue state. At any time, if you do not vote locally, if you do not vote, we have been talking about, and I know we were just talking about police officers, people don't realize if you don't vote in a local election and vote for your sheriff, then it happens top down. All of those things, vote for your school board, vote for all of those things that are really what's impacting you. It's deeper than that. However, if we don't do those things, we've already seen the trajectory of Project 2025. It's already happening. But we need to stop it, and we need to come up with systems and solutions to ensure that the individuals who are not at the table create tables so that policies and elected officials represent those individuals who need a seat at a table and having the ability to discuss whatever it is that we need to not survive, which is what Black queer women in particular are doing, but to thrive. And I feel like we won't do that unless we build community. So that's it.
So I'm going to, unless my bros are opposed, we're gonna kind of wrap it up here. I want to give everyone one last opportunity, and only because we just need to keep saying it, because some of these people is out here again in the Twitters, and then I'll be seeing them in the shade room comments acting the fool. It'd be our boys. So one last pitch for Kamala Devi Harris. We're gonna do this again, but go for it, bruh. Oh, did Brielle hang up?
Yes.
Yeah.
She
put it in the she put it in the chat. She had to jump.
Okay. It's just us now.
Yes. So I'm gonna say this. I really feel like, and that's okay because we're gonna close it out. This is not a one-time shot, guys. This is the future of your children, your grandkids, your nieces, your nephews, cousins, your family. And the uniqueness about this world or this country is that there's no one definition of what family should look like.
Yeah.
That's the cool thing, is that you make your family however you want it to be. There's some people that have extended families. There's some people that have, y'all are my family. We don't have no, Jacoby and I are cousins, so yes, we are cousins. So, but my bros, they my family, y'all my family. So I think we have to look at it. If you can't find any other way to look at it on that level, or you can look at it on your wallet level, your money. If you're trying to take care of your family, it's going to be harder. It's going to be, because see, your job that you have now, you might not have the job because of the way you present.
And because of what you do. Because
Yes.
if the DEI stuff get pulled, a whole lot of people going to lose jobs.
This man's looking to get rid of the education department, the FBI, the CIA, all these things, because he knows that affects him. And so we have to think about those of you who are first generation. You were born here. You know no other. Your family came here to give you an opportunity, give you better education, better life. Your mom, dad, all of that, all of y'all he telling y'all got to go. He's not asking no questions. We don't need that. This is a melting pot. The whole purpose of, our Statue of Liberty, if we want to get, really technical about it, is that, hey, first of all, she a woman. Let's look at that. She was a Black woman that actually was the Statue of Liberty in the beginning of all of this. So we have to look at it, and we really have to look at some things and take it and research. Don't just believe what you see and what you read. Go look deeper, dive deeper, fall down the rabbit hole a little bit, So my thing, and again, take what you have heard, the hour and some time, 2 hours that we spent, take this information offline. If I could have happy hour, after work, I can throw this out there to the people if you're really my friend, you care about my well-being, just like I care about yours. That's what this is about. Because we ain't going to be able to hang out. We're going to have the red doors. We're going to go back to where Stonewall was the way, think about that.
You're going to be wearing red dresses under his eye.
And some of us have never experienced that.
Blessed be the fruits.
I will not.
I had to stop watching that show in like season 2. I was like, I can't. And now I'm going to have to go back and binge watch it.
There you go. And I will not be a nanny. I'm saying it now. I will not. So let's get it together, folks. I mean, for real. I mean, we laughing about that, but hey, and I need people to understand that this man ain't gonna wait to January. He started November the 5th. He has already 250 executive orders, and every single one of them destroys your household that you now have. Your whole life will change in 24 hours if you don't pay attention.
But not only that, you have to also understand that if he goes in, it will be a dictatorship.
Absolutely.
He's already said it, right? That's what he's looking for. Once he gets in, he no longer wants people to vote. You in it until you die. That's his belief. And in order to save democracy, like we have to do what's right. Let's put down the phones. Let's put down the TikTok and the Twitter, and let's really sit down and do some real research. Let's get out in these fields. Let's get our hands dirty. Let's get in the mud. Go to the Capitol, go to your state representatives, have those difficult conversations. Our lives are at stake here.
Yeah. And what I would say to folks who are watching, and we had Rep Mays talk about battleground states at the top of the show, but almost everybody in here, except for me, honestly, is either in a battleground state or a swing state.
Yep.
And so I've been telling everyone, find your local Democratic parties. I'm sure if you go to, I believe it's KamalaHarris.org is the campaign website. They will direct you to volunteer opportunities in your state. But we need everybody knocking on doors. We need everybody. That's what we're doing here in California, is phone banking and text banking. Some people are getting up and going to Nevada. Nevada is a swing state. And what I always tell people I didn't know about Texas is that Texas is actually mostly registered Democratic. But the reason it always is red is because people don't vote. and people don't vote because there's no one going out and touching them and reminding them that they need to vote and why they need to vote. So any bit of opportunity that you have to go out and influence this election, do it. And if you don't have time, that's why we're encouraging you to raise money so we can pay somebody else to do it. I'm sorry, they can pay somebody else to do it.
Yeah,
There you
so
go.
before we close this call, I want to encourage everybody to go on vote.org, check your registration status, make sure your name is correct, make sure you know where your polling location is. Go on there and register to vote as well. If you need assistance getting to the polls, there are organizations that will help you get to the polls, whether it's early voting or during the actual election day. And if you want to volunteer, go to hrc.org. They have a lot of virtual opportunities that you can sign up for and engage in. You can also sign up for the Democratic Black Caucus for your local chapter. They have opportunities where you can walk campus and knock on doors or phone banks, text banks. We need the support. We have to
vote. That's vote.com.
It should be vote.org.
.org. Okay, I'm sorry. I just want to make sure I'm about to post it so people.
Yeah, it should be vote.org. But go on those websites and do your research. Also go on project2025.org. It has the whole thing there. You can read it. Yes, it is very, very lengthy. That's why I have not read it all yet. I haven't deep dive into it yet. But those are different things that you can do to show your support and help us win this thing. Our lives are on the line. We have to win. We have to win.
Democracy is on the ballot. That's what we always say. Democracy is on the ballot.
Absolutely.
So I want to thank Real Boys Talk for hosting this event. I want to apologize to everybody again. You know, this presidential campaign has taken over my life. I can't put on no decent clothes. You know, I'm tired. I've been off my moderation game. I did my best, you know, but it's okay. The DNC will be over, and then we'll be really into the thick of the campaign. It'll be time to get out into the streets.
And we will do this again, guys. So this will also air on our podcast 2 weeks from now, 2 Fridays from now. You will be able, if you missed it or you want your friends to catch it, it's going to be on there as well. So we're going to keep this rolling. This is a movement, and MASC Presenting, we want your voice. We want you to help us so that we can all be heard and we can all live an amazing life. All right. You guys have a great night.
Thank you. Have a good night. I'm going to Target. Bye.
Bye.